Without further ado, I'd like to welcome our very distinguished guest today, the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs. This is a very long title that you have, ma'am. Title IX Coordinator and Senior Diversity Officer. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Charlene, for the invitation. And Charlene just gave me a little promotion. She said associate, and I'm an assistant vice president.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. So I'm so happy and honored to join you today. So thanks again, Charlene, for the invitation. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a Kansan. I'm from Southeast Kansas, originally from Iola, Kansas. And so being in the western part of the state for me is a great experience. I've been to Hays before for a variety of reasons. And I joined Fort Hays State University on July 3rd, 4 years ago. So I just started my fourth year. You could call it my senior year since I finished my third year. And being the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs, I get to work with those, what we call the Student Life Cluster. And so in my portfolio is Residential Life, the Memorial Union, the Kelly Center, and the Student Health Center. So all four of those directors report to me and I get to work with them. And then I'm also the Title IX coordinator for the university, as well as the Senior Diversity Officer. I've worked in a variety of places. I've worked at a community college, a four-year regional, four-year private, four-year research, and landing at Fort Hays State has been an awesome opportunity for me to get to meet so many folks. I see some of the folks that are joining us today. I know some familiar names and faces, and some folks are new to me. And so I'm happy to be here today to share information with you about my area of student affairs and answer questions for you. So Charlene, where do we go from here?
Right, so you mentioned some of the things in your portfolio of duties. One of those is residential life. And I would imagine that that's a little challenging right now as we try to figure out how everyone talks about social distancing and all of those issues. How does one do that in a residence hall?
Well, that's a great question. And you know, if you have been on campus and seen our amazing residential living areas, we're still open to students coming and living with us. Dave Bolig and his staff in the Residential Life office have worked to space students out on the floors in McMidas and throughout Tiger Village and all the other living areas. We really tried to work to have a certain resident to bathroom ratio. And because of the awesome facilities we have, we're able to do that. Students have been getting emails over the last couple of weeks about their assignments, as well as the rolling move-in that we have taking place. Because we do want to socially distance, and we do remind our students to bring their 5 favorite masks that are reusable to Fort Hays with them. We will have students getting to move in at different times, and so it's spaced out, and the staff will be able to get them checked in, and they'll be able to get settled into their space. One of the things that the resident assistants and the resident life staff as community advisors are working on is different types of programming. So offering programs that will happen in smaller groups, or for the students to actually engage in something virtually, much like we are doing today, is what they're prepared for. The McMidas CAF is open, and our Chartwells is our dining provider. And so they're working on having tables socially distanced, and then still providing the same amazing service and food for those students who have meal plans.
It sounds like there's been a lot of thought gone into this, and thank goodness. Now, I've heard about some universities where if someone does come down with COVID, that there is a place for them to quarantine if they live in the residence halls. How are we handling that?
Yes. So our critical incident policy group has been working with Residential Life, and Dave Bullock and his staff have put together a plan. We do have 2 floors, the First West and First East in McMidas, that are held for quarantine. And so the KDHE informs us of those students coming from certain states or who travel internationally would need to quarantine, and we are prepared to put them in that space, have them have their quarantine time there, as well as being able to provide meals to them. So Dave and the staff have worked with Chartwells to be able to provide meals to those students as well. If a student needs to be isolated, because let's say isolation means that they have been tested positive for COVID, that we do have an off-campus option for them where we are able to put them and to get them the care they need and be able to be isolated for the time frame that would need for them to get better. So we are prepared for students and just remind them to bring their masks since we're now wearing those on campus. I have mine today since I'm in the office. And so we do have the options for quarantine housing to take care of students, as well as if a student needs to be isolated.
Very good. Now, if anyone's had the chance to drive around on campus at all, it's clear that there's something going on over by the Memorial Union. Can you tell us about that new construction and what's going to be housed there?
Yes, well, the obvious part is what folks can see on the outside, but what I will do is start with the inside. Edie McCracken is the director of the Memorial Union. And for those of you who've been in the ballroom to see that amazing transformation, well, the Black and Gold room is undergoing that transformation as we speak. And so when we are open again for business in the Black and Gold room, you'll see that it's been renovated to have the same style as the ballroom. And then, as you mentioned, Charlene, the fourth quadrant of the campus, we are expanding from the Memorial Union, and the Success Center is going up. I haven't driven by it today, but I know that they've been making some amazing progress with that. We get some weekly reports from Edie when she meets with those folks and Dana Cunningham. And so we are so excited about that opportunity to bring together the Kelly Center and the Student Health Center on the top floor, the area of student engagement, Student Government Association, Fraternity and Sorority Life on the second floor, and in that first floor area to have a welcome area for our new students, as well as career service and academic advising and career exploration. So we are just so excited about that space that's going up right now. It's an awesome opportunity for us to be able to give services to students and help them what I call to find their level of success at Fort Hays.
And what was the inspiration for this new student service center?
The inspiration for the new service center.
Well, I mean, you know, what need is it fulfilling that, you know, why are we doing it, I guess?
Well, on campuses, folks always say that there's a one-stop shop for our students to get assistance and guidance. And really, the Success Center is going to be that. So if you are a deciding student who's not yet chosen your major, you get to work with the Academic Advising and Career Exploration Center. If you've already determined your major and you're ready for an internship, talking with the career services folks on that same floor is a way to do it. Let's say you go in because you need to get your allergy shot or you're going to get a flu shot on the third floor. Well, if you would like to talk to somebody because you might be a little bit stressed, you can set up an appointment with someone from the Kelly Center as a counselor. And then the other part, we always want our students to get actively engaged. 40 Days at the Fort takes place where it's the first 6 weeks of the semester. We're getting students engaged, whether it's a collegiate 4-H club, which I advise, fraternity or sorority life, or student government association. Any and everything that a student could think about getting connected with would be located in the Success Center. And then be able, in student affairs, we love to have great working relationships with our academic partners in all the different disciplines and areas. And so we're just ready to start to bring students into that space and to really show them what we have available for them at this one-stop shop where they can come in and get information. And then also with the visiting center portion moving over with the Success Center is an amazing opportunity for our students to come in and have that wow factor of this is what I can get and how I can be successful at Fort Hays State.
So another part of your title is Senior Diversity Officer. Mm-hmm. And certainly that's been a topic of conversation, I think, over the summer. So I'm wondering if you can share with us anything that the university has put together to respond to some of the unrest that we've seen over the past few weeks with regard to the George Floyd death and how the university, plans to help bring understanding, I guess, to everyone in that situation.
Right. Well, I do want to say that I do appreciate the message that President Mason and the executive leadership team sent out to the campus and to the students. And then I also sent out a message as a senior university officer. And it's been one of those opportunities for us to show how we can be a tighter family and support all of our students, all of our faculty and staff who might be marginalized in ways that folks may not have thought about before. I know one of the things that we have going on with our strategic plan, with the strategic growth, is the goal 3. And goal 3.3 talks about recruitment and retention of faculty and staff of diverse backgrounds. And so that's one of the areas that we're working on, and we're bringing a committee together to work on that. Another area that President Mason has asked, and I get to work with Tina Walbert, who's our Assistant Director of Student Engagement, who works with diversity and inclusion programming. And Tina and I have the opportunity to get to present to the senior leadership team of Fort Hays State University. We'll present to them in July and then in the spring semester regarding diversity, regarding identification, regarding microaggressions, and then how can we take plans that we're working on here and put them into action. So some of those individuals get information from me on a regular basis for different diversity type programming that might take place. Our Kansas Board of Regents colleagues, my senior diversity officer colleagues are often doing programming, and so I'm sharing some of that information with individuals who are in some of those leadership roles. One of the things that we do for students, and Tina Walbert has been working on this, is that we have a diversity book club. We also have safe zone training for those for the LGBTQIA community. We also provide support in some diversity training that we're working with NCKTC. So the training that we're putting together for our senior leadership team, we are offering that to NCKTC's leadership because they've asked us what resources we might have available. And that's one of the things that we do in higher education. While the students that attend NCKTC have an opportunity to come here for resources, I'm more than happy to share our resources that we do with diversity training and diversity orientation with that staff as well. So not only are we trying to see how we can improve things on our campus in the area of diversity, we're reaching across town, so to speak, to NCKTC as well to share information with them. I know with an aspect of our freshman seminar classes, we have an opportunity to go visit those students and speak to them when invited. Organizations on campus can invite us to come to their office, to their organization meetings, and to speak. We're open to also speaking with departments and divisions, and maybe they want to hear more about microaggressions and how faculty might be aware of what they're saying or doing, or staff might understand what they're saying or doing, and how that might impact someone from a marginalized group. So there's always an opportunity for us to improve in this area. I cannot do it alone. I always seek out the help of my colleagues around the campus because just like we think about recruitment, it's always great to have folks suggest Fort Hays State to people. What we also need is that from everybody from all around campus to be able to understand that finding a way to have diversity become a fabric of our lives and be something where we are inclusive and open to different people is an aspect that all of us should take as a part of our opportunity to grow and to help make Fort Hays State to be a place where it's welcoming and open for all individuals.
On I guess a similar topic, you get to handle some of the more interesting topics on campus, I guess. We also have Title IX coordinator as one of your titles. Can you explain to folks what that means?
Okay, and one of the things now that you mentioned the Title IX part, one aspect I did want to mention regarding the diversity area is that there is now a new social justice certificate that the Department of Criminal Justice recently put together. I was able to meet with the faculty and share, and so I wanted to let you know that that's a new opportunity for our students to be able to do that certificate, to take 12 hours of courses to get a social justice certificate. Speaking of another certificate, we did at one point in time have a Title IX certificate. And with Title IX, for us as a university, we work with not only the faculty and staff, yet also students in that area. It's where we have situations come up that individuals might need to report something. And I work with Amy Schaefer. Amy Schaefer is the Deputy Title IX officer. Amy, if you know Amy, she has several roles on campus, one being compliance, as well as our ombudsman. And she and I work together. She reports up through general counsel, and I report up through our vice president of student affairs. And we work together to educate students through the freshman seminar class about consent and what that means. Also about the new policies. With the recent guidance that was given that we are to put in place beginning in August, we are now looking at new ways to possibly have hearings, as well as making sure that we have advisors for those individuals who might be going through those hearing processes. So anything that might be a gender-based concern that's reported to us, we take seriously, and we have investigators that are able to investigate the cases. And then that information comes to me, and then I am the hearing officer and the lead for taking that information through the process. So it involves students on and off campus, our faculty and staff as well. It's a responsibility that I take seriously, and one that I do with pride, and that we make sure that individuals are taken care of when they go through that process.
Meantime, there's Nancy Vogel has a question, I believe.
I have a question for Teresa, and it involves, it's nice to see you again. It involves the support dogs especially, but support animals. I wonder if you could address that in the new building. And also I see that wonderful picture of Nida Landrum, and I'm remembering during this pandemic, one of Nida's favorite sayings, which was "power to you." And I think she would say that during this pandemic, power to those scientists who are developing a vaccine. And we hope it's sooner than later. So that's how I remember Nida. And she lived in a house right across from Pickett Hall on the corner there a long time ago. But she was a dear, dear friend. Thank you.
Sure thing. And so the question is about emotional support animals. And I think you're referring to being in the Success Center. Is that right? Or was that the specific question?
Say that again.
Was it about either individuals having emotional support animals, or was it relation into being in the Success Center?
Whether there might be future plans for maybe kennels for support animals if they didn't need to be with the student. Just what kind of warm fuzzies there might be in terms of student success. Any developments? Does that ring a bell maybe?
It does. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are working, one, I will say that Lynn Adams is director of our Student Health Center, and Gina Smith is the director of the Kelly Center, where we have amazing counselors, tutoring, and accessibility services. And Jennifer Pfeiffer is our accessibility services coordinator. I know that she does work with students individually, so that if someone's living on campus, that then they are able to go through the process to bring their support animal to campus with them. We have not had those detailed discussions about what that might look like if we were to have an emotional support animal on site, basically in the building. As we move forward with this, I know that we are always trying to think about how can we reimagine our services and provide support to our students. And so I will be sure to share that with Gina and Jennifer. I'm not sure if they have discussed that as of late, because they do continue to give amazing counseling services and treatment virtually during this pandemic. And so now that you brought it to my attention again, I will talk with them and see what that might be. Sometimes I know folks love animals. Some folks are, I know, I have some friends who are not quite animal friendly. They're kind of a little scared of them. So that's something to consider. And I want to make sure that I do share that with the staff. So thank you for bringing that up again.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have a question that was chatted to me. And it's about how often how many reports there are of racial discrimination on our campus in Hayes or in the Hayes community. And can you help us understand what that maybe looks like and what those of us on this call can be doing to help mitigate those things?
Good. That's a great question. I don't know that we have very good statistics on that information. One, we could always check with Chief Scheibler and Hayes Police Department to see reports that they may have had. We can also check with Chief Ed Howell for University Police Department. I do know that in the time that I have been here, I have met with students who have experienced racial bias, whether that's been within an organization or something that's happened in Hayes. I do know that students have experienced that. And when students come to me with those concerns, much like what I do with Title IX experiences, that I listen and I ask them what would they like for me to do. Oftentimes students feel like nothing can be done. And that's where I feel a little lost, and because I want to be able to help them, right? And if an individual has experienced racism or sexism in their life, then they know that not always is it easy to hold the individual accountable. And that's tough. Because when someone experiences racism or microaggression, and a microaggression might appear to be a compliment to individuals, yet it's not necessarily a compliment. So for example, a microaggression is if someone were to say, oh, well, Dr. Clounch is so well-spoken. Why wouldn't I be well-spoken, right? You can see that I am a woman of color, I'm Black. And so is that an indication that people do not believe that African Americans or Blacks are well-spoken? So understanding what that means and how that impacts a person is important. Oftentimes when I've met with those students, I've remained in contact with them, let them know that I'm here for them as a resource. Yet what I am hopeful is that the training that Dr. Criley has helped us to put together and that Tina Wilbert and I are working on will be ways to inform people so they can think about how they identify, what their background entails and how they unpack that and what that actually means. So if somebody grew up with a certain background and understanding certain things, when students come to college or individuals meet other folks that are not like themselves, sometimes they get challenged by that because there's a different perspective or lens. One of my examples that I use often in training is that I grew up not liking cats. I didn't really know why I didn't like cats. I had to think about that. My dad did not care for cats. He was a hunter. We had bird dogs. We had a family pet that was a dog. But then I had to think about me personally, why do I not like cats? It's because my dad didn't like cats. That doesn't mean cats are not nice or that, people who own cats, that's not a good thing. It's just that I had to unpack and understand who I was, what I learned, and how I learned it and what that meant. And now that I understand that, then I can now move on and think differently about cats. I know that seems like that's very something that might be innocuous, but we have to think about why we think and do what we do. And by getting faculty and staff and students to understand that, that's the beginning to where we start to make change, not only our individuals, yet moving through policy and procedures and what we're doing. And do they have biases? Do they have biases against women? Do they have biases against their LGBTQI community? what does that look like? And how can we make the change so that everyone feels welcome on our campus?
So Teresa, the resources that you're talking about for senior leadership team and groups on campus and that kind of thing, are these available in any way to our alumni or the Friends of the University if someone wanted to, you know, get in touch with your office to speak to, you know, a community group or something like that? Are you available for, or is someone in your group available for that kind of thing?
That is a great question, Charlene. Tina and I would be open to opportunities to talk with organizations and groups in Hayes. You know, Fort Hays State is a huge part of the Hayes community. The Hayes community is a huge part of who we are at Fort Hays State. And so I would be open to conversations about sharing those resources and being able to have those conversations. I also, one of the committees I chair is the Town Gown Committee. And that's some of the things that I've shared with them about what we're doing on campus. And so I would be open to those conversations if someone is interested, so they could reach out to me.
Very good. Well, we are just about at our half-hour time frame. Are there any other questions from our audience? We certainly want to be respectful of everyone's time, but we want to make sure everyone's questions are answered as well. And I can't necessarily see everyone, so you're going to have to unmute yourself. All right. I don't hear any other questions, so let me do a plug for our next Tiger Tuesday. That will be John Armstrong from Admissions will be joining us. We're taking a week off, so it won't be next week. It'll be August 4th. He'll be joining us, and we'll have our executive director, Tammy Wilbrock, conducting that interview again, because I hope to be not in the state. I hope to be on vacation, so if they'll let us out. If not, I'll be watching from home. But Teresa, I want to definitely thank you for joining us. I think you gave us a lot of really great information. And of course, this is being recorded, so we will get this up on YouTube and out on the social media as well. And be able to correct some of that audio from the first half of the interview where it was a little hard to hear you. So it'll be a little easier to hear if you want to listen to the repeat. But again, thank you all for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks. And again, thanks to you, Dr. Clounch.
Thank you.